Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Each month, TD Ameritrade pulls a sample from its client base of more than 13 million funded accounts, which includes all accounts that completed a trade in the last month to get a sense of how retail investors are approaching the market. This is called the TD Ameritrade Investor Movement Index. And for August, it shows investors increase their exposure to equities for the sixth month in a row. Joining me to dive into the details of the IMX data is JJ Kinahan, Chief Market Strategist at TD Ameritrade. JJ, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. Always great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And JJ, it's no surprise to see TD clients participating in stocks for the month of August, which was the best performance it's seen in the Nasdaq 100 since 2000.
Yeah, absolutely, Jill. And the S&P 500 was up about 7.5%. The IMX is up about 6.5% for the month. Our clients, but many of the stocks that, although they're selling off today, the Apples and Teslas going into the end of the month, they had big rally. Where we're at as you and I speak right now, those stocks are trading about where they were on August 20th. And I think sometimes people think, oh, they just bought them for the day or whatever. Actually, our clients have done fairly well in terms of buying and selling Tesla over time, and Apple is still the number one held stock in our firm.
What about some of the sells that you saw outside of the larger tech names?
Yeah, very interesting. Disney hitting a 52-week high in August was one that many of our clients, I'm sorry, 6-month high, not 52-week, I apologize, was one that our clients sold as they had a lot of good news. And I think many of our clients, were buyers of Disney back in March and April when the stay-at-home trade sort of was starting to take off. And they've had a nice run. But with that, I find it interesting that our clients are selling it now. I don't know if it's a comment as much on how well Disney stock's done as that maybe people feel that they can get outside, do other things, go see movies, etc. And then the other one was after IAC took a position in MGM Grand and they had their nice rally. Our clients were sellers of MGM Grand. So again, one of those things where you see a big bump and people are like, have an opportunity to take some profits, I'm going to take them, because without some sort of vaccine or something, as we know, the casino space could still be a little bit dicey going forward as we head into the fall.
What are your thoughts on the notion that the massive run-up in stocks is attributed to retail investors plowing money into momentum names? Do you think there's anything behind that?
I think they help, but let's face it, Jill, it's still kind of usually the bigger blocks and the bigger firms who control massive amounts of money who can make the stock market move one way or another. Obviously, retail has had an influence, but I don't think they are the reason that we're going one way or the other overall.
Yeah, and speaking about going one way or the other, September was certainly off to a solid start, but the volatility trade came back with some velocity. It seems like 2020 has been the year of 3 to 5% moves to the up or downside. Do you expect that to be the case into the election and the remainder of the year?
Absolutely. If you look at VIX futures, certainly telling us that's going to happen overall as we look at the, how that lays out over time. And that would follow a little bit of a pattern that we tend to see as we head into election cycles. And this being an election that looks like it's going to be hotly contested, not only on the presidential side, but on the congressional side, which in many ways is just as or more important for Wall Street in terms of taxation rules, et cetera. So I think that you will see volatility increase as we head into this election season, and maybe even for the rest of the year, because it's interesting. Obviously COVID-19 remains the story of the day, but there are so many other scenarios going on, as we saw over the weekend in terms of China and the U.S. Saw our first story on Brexit in probably 5-6 months over the weekend. That hasn't gone away. So there are a lot of other stories playing out, and COVID is just sort of that big cloud that's over anything, where rain can come out of it at any time, or it can break for a day or two in terms of sunshine until we have some sort of vaccine.
Yeah, JJ, all great points. Thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me, Jill. Always a pleasure.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.